thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us.
Tits up.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. That's right. It's Friday, August 2nd. You know what today is? That's right. It's National Water Balloon Day, you guys. So get wet.
Get splashed, man.
Mm-hmm. It's also National Coloring Book Day.
Never in between the lines.
That's fun.
National Ice Cream Sandwich Day. Shout out to the ice cream man. And
Joe Biden.
And of course, Rico, it is International Beer Day. So beer, just regular beer. That's regular beer like Modelo.
Wasn't IPA yesterday?
Yeah, yesterday was IPA.
Friday was already International Beer Day.
Okay.
Fair enough. Well, anyways, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above or down below on your screen to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and on our very own website at www.highat9news.com. But kicking it off first, that's right, it is the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte. The man who apparently is having a great hair day today. Look at that hair. And it looks like he even got his eyebrows done. That's right. It is the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte.
Thank you, Jason. No, I didn't do my hair this morning, number one. And number two, never got my eyebrows done. Maybe that's something I should look into, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's in that hair augmentation and body augmentation these days. Maybe I should hop on the bandwagon. So.
Mm-hmm.
You know who's not into augmentation of THC consumables?
Oh, yeah.
Republican Governor Mike Parson. Because it is official. As of yesterday, Missouri has officially banned the sale of drinks, candy, and other foods made with hemp-derived intoxicating substances. Republican Governor Mike Parson made the announcement in an executive order issued Thursday, citing the health concerns and lack of research on Delta-8 THC and similar unregulated CBD substances. Parson did, however, make it clear that the order does not prohibit consumption of psychoactive hemp products, just the sale of them. Per the Associated Press, Governor Parson told reporters gathered in his Jefferson City Capitol building office that the rules are not here to punish consumers. The goal is to safeguard the health and safety of Missourians, especially the most vulnerable, the children. And while there is a lack of government regulation for the CBD-derived products, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration did approve one drug that contains CBD in 2018 to help treat two rare seizure disorders. Delta-8 THC is of particular concern because of adverse side effects and because of how it is chemically manufactured. Other states also ban or regulate Delta-8 THC, though it is sold in many states due to a loophole in federal law. Missouri's Department of Health and Senior Services Director Paula Nicholson said that there have been reports of adults and children being hospitalized after consuming the substances, which sometimes are packaged similarly to existing candies marketed for children. She didn't cite any cases of this, but she said it. She advised that adults throw away any products with those substances. And you know what, y'all? Like, I don't know how Governor Parson expects the good people of Missouri to procure such legal consumables that are no longer sold in the state. But hey, maybe a little pageantry is necessary to make the voters believe that you're actually doing something to protect the children and their freedom, or the freedom of said children's parents to do whatever the fuck that they want. I mean, God did give us two sides, or I should say multiple sides of the mouth to talk out of. Why not use two of them, right? The trap remains undefeated. Knock Missouri down as another state that is lost. I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High 9 News. What do y'all think about this one?
So, Rico, was this strictly for Delta 8 products, or does this involve all other alternative derived compounds?
The executive order says he is banning the sale of drinks, candy, and other foods made with hemp-derived, quote-unquote, intoxicating substances.
Take that, Minnesota.
Well, where are you going to get them?
Take that, Minnesota.
Get them from Joe Bob outside the gas station.
Mm-hmm.
I guess not at Wawa anymore, huh? All right. Well, damn.
It is.
Back to the hemp trap we go.
Maybe he is a fan of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. I don't know.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Oh boy, you guys. It's crazy. Craziness, Rico.
It's the weirdest world, man. None of this makes sense. It's all just, all of these policies are based on people's feelings instead of science or clear rules about what's safe to eat or not.
Yeah.
I mean, how big are the sales in Missouri on Delta 8? I mean, they have like the best market for just regular cannabis in the country.
I mean, is it really though, or is it?
Yeah, it is.
But hold on. Or is it dedicated to more populated areas? Because if there's a lot of rural areas, I guarantee a lot of people in rural areas are getting their Delta 8 on.
They are eating everybody's lunch, bro. Every single state in the nation, they are eating their lunch.
And it's not Delta 8. It's intoxicating cannabinoids. So THCA, it's a game of definitions. THCA is not intoxicating.
Mm-hmm.
So you can sell type 1 cannabis as long as the THC is less than 0.3.
That's a rhyme.
Yeah, it's a game of definitions. They're just trying to squeeze, and I don't know what you think, Mark, but they're just trying to squeeze an industry, and you can't, because you can just switch the definitions. Anyway.
Fair enough.
What do you think with Dr. Mark?
Dr. Mark,
I was having difficulty unmuting myself.
No,
Mark's in Puerto Rico. He's at the club. You got booty in front of him. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Yeah, let me know if there's too much background noise here. Yeah, so THCA has 2 orders of magnitude lower of binding constant to the CB1 protein than does decarboxylated THCA, i.e. Delta 9 THC. Delta 8 THC only has slightly less than Delta 9, so the decarboxylated forms are indeed psychoactive. Like Jean said, I think a lot of people are playing this THCA loophole game. We all know that high THCA cannabis is the regulated cannabis that's regulated by the state authorities and not falling into the definition of hemp. Because if you read the Farm Bill, it won't say it in the Farm Bill itself, but in the documentation that supports the Farm Bill, the Agricultural Research Service requires a decarboxylation of hemp to qualify as hemp. So high THCA hemp is cannabis. It's not hemp at all. But I think the loophole that could be exploited here, Jason, would be there are things like THCP
Yep.
and THCB, which they claim come from hemp, but they don't come from hemp at all. They come from a synthetic lab, but they fly under the banner of being hemp-derived intoxicating cannabinoids. So I think they could say, okay, these aren't hemp-derived, right? Because they're actually synthesized. So maybe, that's a way of skirting around hemp-derived intoxicating things. But yeah, things like Delta-8, HHC, those do have CB1 binding activity. And John, I guess what they're defining as intoxicating would be agonizing CB1 receptors. And so that gives us the bliss or the high that we all know as cannabis users. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think there could be kind of a way of skirting this. What I see is in states that have very powerful regulated cannabis industries and those cannabis businesses are making money, they're probably spending a little bit of that money on lobbying. Mm-hmm. And the lobbying could be used, again, to have this kind of influence to kind of snuff out the hemp-derived market and to grab that market share for the regulated businesses that have put a lot of investment and are employing people to grow weed in Missouri. Missouri's got a pretty active program, right?
That's
they have
what
a pretty
I'm saying.
active regulated program. Yeah. So like in Colorado and in California, where there's pretty activated, cannabis programs, those businesses don't want any unfair competition landscape by having hemp-derived products at gas stations and available on the internet that don't have to undergo third-party testing, that don't need security cameras around their facilities, they don't need to do FBI background checks on their employees, and yeah, you could produce psychoactive substances for a whole lot less than these regulated cannabis businesses.
I wonder how this will work for like direct-to-consumer products, because legally the transaction would happen wherever the bin is, wherever that credit card or debit card purchase is made. And so therefore they actually wouldn't be selling it in Missouri unless the bin for the financial transaction was in Missouri, but it would just be being shipped there.
I tell you what, Parody Gummies is going to take advantage of that.
Yeah, they are. 100%. Any thoughts on that, Rico? I know you love the finances and following money.
I mean, there's money all over this one, man. There's money to be made, all kinds of trap money to be made in Missouri right now. I mean, they're banning these products. People want them. They're going to get them regardless. I mean, Illinois is, they've recessed. They're on vacation right now, and then they're supposed to be banning also, or they're leaning towards banning these products.
Mm-hmm. When does this ban go into effect?
You think banning guns in Chicago has kept the guns out of Chicago?
Right.
I don't know.
When does this ban go into effect, Rico?
September 1st.
September 1st. Well, it'll be real interesting to see the final quarter of this year's numbers from these dispensaries to see if this has any effect as far as increasing revenues for the stores that operate in Missouri.
I doubt it. I doubt it'll see.
You don't think it'll move the needle at all? You won't see any type of increase at all. Just look normal, stagnant. Just keep on normal growth.
Think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, it really depends, because 2 clicks after saying that you're 21 years of age, they're asking for your credit card information. Mm-hmm. So how do they snuff that out? Like certain websites will say, like, we cannot, like Vermont, for example, you cannot deliver THCA diamonds or THCA concentrate into Vermont. So it says on the Cookies website, these states are excluded, right? Because Cookies knows that, we can't send to Vermont, we can get in a whole lot of trouble, right? Mm-hmm. So
but that's not what this is saying, though, Dr. Mark. It's saying that they don't allow for the sale, and that's why I was alluding to it would depend upon where the bin, as far as your transaction is happening, where that bin is located for that is where the transaction is happening. So therefore, there wouldn't be a sale unless your bin was in Missouri.
Are you saying like the digital bin? Or are you saying like the actual pickup area?
The digital bin.
It's offshore, man.
Well, I'm just saying it could be in a lot of different places. But what I'm saying is that I doubt that bin is going to be located in Missouri. So then that way, this wouldn't affect online sales in that situation, in my opinion.
Just get a VPN, man. You can have it where you can have it in Thailand if you want.
All right, we're going to keep this train rolling. We're going to roll right into our first commercial, and we're going to be right back.
Oh man, that was weird. Hey, you America. Do I look like Sean Connery? Good morning, America. Saman Razani coming to you live from sunny Los Angeles, California with the one and only highest host, Mr. Jason Beck, smoking on the best weed in the world. Did you know that we have an audio-only version of our podcast? You can find it on Apple, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. No excuses in 2024. If you haven't checked us out, check it out now. And also, check out what the Prophet's doing in 2024.
We are back, and up next we have the man, the myth, the legend himself, the highest Republican in every room, known for smoking the best weed in the world, and also Donald Trump's advisor when it comes to all DEI initiatives. Jason Beck.
Oh, yeah. Good morning, guys. Happy Friday. Man, oh man, oh man. I have a very, very, very interesting story for you guys, because a man said he ate 10 marijuana edibles, but alleged acts on a Dallas flight lands him in jail, you guys. That's right. The man accused of trying to open a plane door's other unruly behavior on American Airlines flight, you guys. That's right. A man who said he ate about 10 marijuana edibles faces charges for alleged unruly behavior on an American Airlines flight last month, according to court documents and a news release from the U.S. Attorney's Office. Eric Nicholas Gopko, 26, of New Jersey, is accused of postponing a flight or propositioning a flight attendant for sex, vaping, locking himself in the bathroom, and attempting to open the plane's exterior door multiple times during the flight, according to the statement on Wednesday. Gopko's July 18th American Airlines flight from Seattle to Dallas was diverted to Salt Lake City International Airport because of his, in quotes, disruptive and life-threatening behavior, according to the release. Initially, Gopko told arresting officers he had not taken drugs, then later said he had eaten about 10 marijuana edibles and was unsure of their THC content. According to court documents, Gopko may have self-reported PTSD and reportedly tried to give another passenger a bag of unknown pills, records show. Wonder what those pills were. Gopko is also accused of failing to follow instructions to remain in his seat, being repeatedly loud and bothering to other passengers, and Gopko's lawyer did not respond to requests for comment on Thursday. Crew members and other passengers restrained Gopko with plastic handcuffs. Oh my, that's so funny. To his feet and hands, according to the release. And Gopko was arrested when the plane landed in Salt Lake City. In a quote, "The safety and security of our customers and team members is our top priority," American Airlines told the Dallas Morning News in an emailed statement. In a quote, "We thank our team members for their professionalism and our customers for their understanding." At the airport, though, Gopko allegedly broke the glass of his holding cell and was taken to the hospital for evaluation. According to a Salt Lake County affidavit, records allege he continuously screamed at nurses, doctors, and others, using several obscenities and spit in an officer's face, you guys. Gopko faces a misdemeanor and 2 felony charges for his alleged actions at the airport, and according to court records. And his bail was set at $2,000. That's super cheap, $2,000. He was booked in Salt Lake County Jail on July 19th, records show, and for his alleged actions on the plane, a federal grand jury returned an indictment on Wednesday, charging Gopko for alleged interference with a flight crew and attempted damage to an aircraft, according to the release, you guys. Gopko is scheduled to appear in court on Thursday in Salt Lake City, and the case will be prosecuted by the U.S. Attorney's Office of the District of Utah, you guys. Man, oh man, oh man. Oh, wait, hold on. There's a little bit more. The case is also being investigated by the FBI's Salt Lake City Field Office and Salt Lake City Police, according to the release. Man, so they're still investigating. They already charged him. I don't understand what they're still investigating for if they're already charged him. That doesn't make a lot of sense, but whatever. But this guy, plastic handcuffs, you guys restrained him. I mean, I remember the little plastic handcuffs we had as toys, as kids. We would get a little cap gun, little plastic handcuffs and whatnot. And I could break out of those even when I was a kid. So how they're going to restrain a full-grown man is totally beyond me. That's totally acting irrational. But nonetheless.
They were zip ties, Jason. They zip tied his hands and his feet together. They zip tied him.
That's not what it says. It says plastic handcuffs.
That's
Someone's obviously never been in a riot before.
It's the same thing that they were carrying into January 6th into Congress. You know, zip ties.
Well, then they should call them plastic zip ties. Then they shouldn't call them handcuffs.
Yeah, is there insurrection?
Zip ties sound a little bit bad, Jason.
Really? I don't think that. I think they sound fine.
Is zip ties?
Well, listen, we hog-tied the guy in the back of the flight. Doesn't sound the greatest, you know.
I think that sounds way better.
Are zip ties actually trademarked? Because if they are, they probably wanted to avoid saying that.
I bet zip tie is.
Then why not just say he was restrained? Because when they say he was restrained with plastic handcuffs, it just sounds hella corny and phony.
I was just helping you understand how he couldn't break out playing cops and robbers. That's all I was here to do.
Just saying, this sounds plastic handcuffs, my ass.
Also, it doesn't sound like weed gummies, my ass. Like, what was in that bag of pills? Because that's what had him up and down the aisles.
I agree with that. This definitely sounds like something else. Because even if you have a bunch of weed gummies, I mean, you're generally just going to sit in your seat and veg and watch a movie and, you know, maybe ask them for a little too much water or something.
Possibly want to throw up.
I feel uneasy about you saying ass and handcuffs in the same sentence.
You feel uneasy?
On a Friday, it's Freaky Friday, boys.
And yes, I just looked up. Zip tie is a trademark name. So.
Oh, interesting.
There you go.
You would think so by now, right?
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Good call, Rico.
It's very, very interesting. Very interesting. Well, any other thoughts? Any thoughts on this, Matthew? It seems like he had some of your magic mushroom tea on this flight.
I was like, dude, just couldn't handle his edibles. I feel for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I personally can't do edibles on a plane, man. They make me too paranoid.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah,
interesting.
Dude. Start being like, what was that? Oh God, did we slow down? We're gonna die. I'm not a great flyer now.
I feel you.
You like to stay low to the ground?
Mm-hmm. Oh, dude, I'm like a grip in the armrest the whole time and sweating it up kind of dude.
I gotta have an edible if it's a red eye. I got to, man. Knock me the fuck out.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there you go.
For a Valium.
Right. Man.
Let's not advocate for pharmaceuticals.
Well, all right, we're gonna keep this.
Don't growl at me, Jason Beck. It's Friday.
Dr. T, you have any thoughts on this, Dr. T? I mean, do you want to try to diagnose this guy?
No, not from this far. No. But I do wonder how often this happens. You know, if anyone knows a flight attendant, to ask them, how often does someone freak out like this and disrupt the plane?
There was, I'm not sure if this is the same guy. I don't think that this is the same guy, but there was a few months ago, there was a guy, and I believe the flight was also from Seattle, where the guy was traveling and he tried to open up the airline door. But I think he was a flight attendant, but he was on mushrooms or claimed to be on mushrooms at the time.
I remember that.
Yeah. So I mean, that's twice within a year. And, you know, one of the things for me is I always sit in the very front of the plane anytime that I fly. Okay. Always in the front, because if anyone is going to go and try to touch that door, I'm going to fuck them up.
Are you really?
There's doors in the middle too.
100%. Yeah. I don't too much worry about those ones, Dr. T, because I sit far enough away from them that they're not going to suck me out.
Hey, clip that. Please clip that.
Fair enough, you guys. Fair enough. We're going to keep this train rolling. We're going to roll right on into Dr. Gene Talleyrand. He's the founder of the CESC and the founder of Medican, where you can get your doctor recommendations. And maybe with this big giveaway that we're going to do, maybe even Dr. T will give away some recommendations for some people when we hit our 10K subscribers. But nonetheless, we're going to find out soon. And coming up next is none other than Dr. Gene Talleyrand.
Yes, you have my commitment for that. Jason.
Amazing. Look at that.
Happy Friday, everyone. My story today comes from Normal. It's about research that took several years to complete and finally came to the conclusion that cannabis helps many gastrointestinal symptoms. The study was recently published in a peer-reviewed journal, Medical Cannabis and Cannabinoids, as a brief report titled Relief in Gastrointestinal Symptoms with Medical Marijuana Over 1 Year. The authors were from Thomas Jefferson University in Pennsylvania. Thomas Jefferson is one of many universities with a medical cannabis research program, but one of the few universities that actually study the benefits of cannabis. The researchers evaluated people with gastrointestinal or GI symptoms that are chronic. Over 60% of the adult population has GI symptoms, and they're associated with a poor quality of life. Medical treatments are not always effective. Some medicines like proton pump inhibitors, PPIs, like Nexium or Prilosec, they cause bloating and nausea. People have turned to medical cannabis for relief, and this study aims to evaluate whether it works. So participants had to have at least one of a list of GI symptoms, including poor appetite, heartburn, nausea, constipation, diarrhea, and stomach pain. They were recruited to participate from a dispensary in Pennsylvania. Most of them were white female at the average age of 42. Most did not use prescription medicines. About 80 to 90% used cannabis regularly. They were given surveys on day 0, 1 month, 6 months, 12 months, which asked about their GI symptoms and their cannabis use pattern. 1/3 reported that cannabis improved their GI symptoms a little, and 1/3 reported cannabis improving their symptoms a lot. Participants used 2 or 3 different cannabis products of their choice over the 12-month study. Over 50% of the study participants inhaled. Vape carts, flower, and pills were the most popular products used. The most common reason for stopping or changing a product was accessibility. The store just ran out of certain products. Over the study year, there was significant improvement in GI symptoms. The most common side effects were increased appetite, although that might be a desirable effect, fatigue, anxiety, and cough. This is the first study to demonstrate a long-term benefit of cannabis use for GI symptoms. Additional studies should assess the effects of THC to CBD ratios, type 1, type 2, type 3, cannabis dosing, and different methods of administration. So this study was interesting to me, not because of the results. Most cannabis users already know that cannabis helps them with their GI symptoms. What's interesting is the method. A dispensary in Pennsylvania is contributing to cannabis science by recruiting patients for study. It's simple, not costly, and very useful. I believe many dispensaries are not participating in research because they just don't know how and are afraid of the unknown. The irony is that cannabis dispensaries are selling some of the best medicine on this planet. Since the medical establishment is slow and hesitant, dispensaries should step up. There's a lot of information that comes in and out of the store about the consumer experience. Dispensaries should participate in studies. For those looking to increase their revenue, studies are a way to attract a new demographic. As well, it should be a responsibility of a cannabis operator to contribute to greater knowledge out of respect for what the plant does for us. So what do you think? Should dispensaries be required to participate in research? This is Dr. Jean Talleyrand with High 9 News.
This is
I don't know about required, but it's cool if they do decide to do it.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to. I think that would be super, super fascinating and interesting to do. And at the same time, you know, Dr. T, I'd say a lot of these experiments, we've been doing them for a number of years and just getting antiquated results. But like a real study, I would love to see something like that with some type of dispensary partnership.
I've been
familiar with this. Well, go ahead, John. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Mark.
Okay, I'm familiar with this group at Thomas Jefferson. In fact, if my memory serves me correctly, I was their chief science officer that enabled them to get this license. The problem with that program in Pennsylvania is that they had rolled out the initial bunch of licenses, and then they talked about this pairing of cannabis businesses with the research universities to do this research program that you're talking about, Jean. And really, Thomas Jefferson was one of the real leading forefront schools. There was also Temple and a couple other schools where there's already people doing cannabis research. There's already Schedule I licenses. There's Sarah Jane Ward at Temple and other folks who, again, are investigating more the medicinal aspects. This program was designed to do exactly this, Jean, which was open studies of the dispensary customers that are coming in to generate observational clinical results, right? So these aren't actually clinical results. They're not taking a wide demographic of different individuals with pre-existing conditions and different some people overweight, some people are diabetic. When you do a clinical study, you really have to represent a large swath of the population, and that includes people with pre-existing conditions. But this type of observational data that you can get through just handing out a questionnaire at a dispensary is just so valuable, because everyone can tell you whether or not that medication works to alleviate their malady. And so certainly that kind of data is very important. Now, to go back to the researchers at Thomas Jefferson to see if there's actually a mechanism that they understand. I mean, maybe there's a reason why things like that are high in CBG have a certain effect in the gut, because CBG is known to have that type of impact. But I think where this kind of falls down is that I'm not sure, Jean, if these types of results are going to win over the doctors who are on the fence, right? So the real question is, they'll say this isn't really clinical data. This is observational clinical data. So there's easy ways for existing doctors and the existing pharmaceutical establishment to sort of poo-poo this. But I think that this is highly valuable. I think all dispensaries should be doing this, and all states should put in programs like this. It's interesting because what happened in Pennsylvania, this program was stalled because the people who got the initial licenses when they made Pennsylvania medical ended up suing the state and suing these businesses because these folks were only up in operation for like less than a year and a half. They had not made the return on their initial investment. And the next thing you know, they announced that these multi-state operators are teaming up with the big research universities. How does that impact my business? I just put a whole lot of money into building a grow in the middle of Pennsylvania and hiring a bunch of people here. I mean, this should be something that should be done in a more equitable way, because basically what it was Thomas Jefferson teaming up with a multi-state operator who is then just going to use that connection with Thomas Jefferson to generate more revenue and more sales, and basically put the smaller guys who didn't team up with the universities out of business. I don't like that.
I agree with you. That's exactly why we do what we do, because we're trying to get the small operators. They're coming for you. They're coming for you through the universities. If we don't band together and work together, then we're going to lose the small operator footprint in this.
Amen.
And it requires research.
Maybe the doctors can help me out on this one, because I'm always looking at things through the follow the money lens. And I think this tracks back to the Arena Pharmaceuticals acquisition by Pfizer at the end of last year for $6 billion, specifically for their gastrointestinal cannabis research. Right. I think you're going to see a lot more of these studies coming out, and this is big pharma is going to be going heavy on this shit. That $6 billion that pharma, that's just a drop in the bucket for them. I think that people need to just remember that Pfizer holds over a third of the patents in the cannabis industry. The shit's coming.
Great point, Rico. All right, fair enough. This was very, very interesting. Thank you so much for that, Dr. T. We are going to roll right into a commercial, and we're going to be right back.
I just ordered the summertime strawberry salad when added steak on top here at Anna's. Make sure you do the same thing too next time you're in downtown Long Beach. Come on down and check out Anna's joint on the 400 block of Pine Street. They have amazing selection of beers, foods, and when you come down here to Anna's, you can even challenge me to a game of shuffleboard if you want to lose. Did you get that? So, next time you're in downtown Long Beach on Pine Avenue, make sure you stop by Anna's Joint on the 400 block. Not only do they have Anna's Joint, this restaurant and bar, but they also have the amazing deli next door, and then next door to that, they have a very exotic flower shop. You may want to stop by and say hi.
Puerto Rico.
Oh,
Puerto Rico.
It's gonna be Rico introducing it in.
Whoa, guys, whoa. Stop whatever you're doing. Make sure that you hit that like button. I know we'll appreciate it, you'll appreciate it, and YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure that you hit the subscribe button as well if you've not subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you'll be able to read a little bit later today, available on our website. And we do want to, we are going to be doing a 10,000 subscriber giveaway coming up, so make sure you're sharing this with your friends, because we are going to be doing a giveaway with True Classic OG. That video is going to be released later today, hopefully at some point in time, announcing all of that. And oh man, and we're going to have Catalyst as our retail partner, and you can be able to pick up at any of their 28 locations throughout California your prizes. And also, I did just release the first video in a series of videos of me judging the Emerald Cup competition. The Emerald Cup is coming up in a couple weeks, so make sure you get your tickets, and we look forward to seeing you there.
The Control Tower from Highly Educated has perfected the dab. Utilizing the concept of thin film evaporation, you can waste none of it and taste all of it. The micro texture of the SE pillar increases nucleation at elevated temperatures. And with the tower propelling at 2,600 RPMs, it's certainly the most efficient dab experience to date. The Control Tower from Highly Educated.
All right, y'all. I hope you got your notepads ready, and maybe a pina colada, maybe a coquito, maybe a pitoro, whatever it is, because he's coming in from the beautiful island of Puerto Rico, where Republicans claim it'll never be a state. But y'all know who it
won't
is.
be.
It's the New England-based anti-booth peddler of truth, organic chemistry and plant oil extraction expert. Here to break us off a little Friday science, it's Dr. Mark Scialdone. I love that shirt too, Dr. Mark. I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
Thank you from the island of Puerto Rico. Hola. Buenos tardes. Yeah, down here doing some consulting and really enjoying it. And Jason, I think we're on Adam Dunn later today, so catch me and Jason on the Adam Dunn show
most definitely
later tonight. So my story comes from a very interesting source. It comes from the Insurance Journal, right? Not typically something that we would present here on at 9 Journal. The Insurance Journal is a weekly publication for the insurance industry. So only when it touches on cannabis will we cover it here. So the title of the article is "Claim on Seized Hemp Shipment Barred Showing Trickiness of Coverage." So it's relating to the insurance aspect of covering cannabis transport. International treaties preempt state-based legal actions, giving an air transport company an escape from claims on what a hemp producer said was botched paperwork for an overseas hemp shipment, a federal court appeals had said. The ruling from the U.S. 4th District Circuit Court of Appeals last week highlights the trickiness of running and insuring cannabis and hemp-related businesses, even as the industry continues to grow around the world. This is why people are nervous about hemp, because there's a lot of variability and a fair amount of risk, said Eric Schultz, an underwriter for the cannabis insurance company GenCap, a wholesale brokerage. There's a lack of controls, lack of regulations, and a real lack of consistency when it comes to this. And that all comes on the nastiness of what a business that doesn't, have a lot of controls over how they're being regulated. The appellate judges upheld a lower federal court's ruling that a Montreal Convention of 1999 precludes a lawsuit by a Portland hemp company, which claimed that the air carrier actions resulted in the seizure and destruction of hemp product by federal authorities in 2020. Our rulings must be guided by the Montreal Convention, which, under the Constitution, is part of supreme law of the land, Judge Robert King wrote in a 3-judge appeals court panel. The court documents do not indicate if the producer or air transport company were covered by insurance policies, and the lawyers for both sides could not be reached for comment. But Schultz and other insurance experts says it's likely that any policies that contain inclusions or exclusions that barred coverage for federally illegal or high THC hemp products, and a coverage could, for international shipments of hemp, even be fully legal, hard to come by anyway. There is not a robust international coverage for hemp, where there should be a number of operations that are multinational, Schultz said. The legal action began 4 years ago when a Portland-based company called WeCBD, I've never heard of them, but maybe others have, WeCBD, a producer and distributor of legal hemp products, contracted with Planet 9, a charter flight and cargo carrier, to transport 3,300 pounds of hemp to Switzerland. The transport cost topped $147,000, and the value of the product could be as much as $1.3 million, according to a news report by the Charlotte Observer. By the way, that comes to about $330 a pound, so these numbers are pretty realistic. When the plane made a refueling stop in Charlotte, North Carolina, U.S. Customs authorities seized 93 bags and later destroyed the contents. Testing showed that much of the hemp was above the 0.3% tetrahydrocannabinol content allowed by law, and the court explained, while many U.S. states have legalized some form of higher THC marijuana, federal law still prohibits it, and countries having different regulations on THC levels in hemp also prohibit it. So WeCBD argued then that Planet 9 had failed to provide the proper paperwork to the aviation authorities, paperwork that would have indicated that the cargo on board was legal hemp. Planet 9's website shows that it flies a number of aircraft, none with larger than 15-passenger Gulfstream, or what's called the G650. When local law enforcement officers in Portland saw the bags being loaded onto the plane after some seats were removed, they became suspicious and alerted custom agents in Charlotte, where the plane had stopped. At the airport, custom officials told or asked if they could see the cargo, which was in duffel bags and trash bags. Okay, probably not the way to send 3,300 pounds of hemp to Switzerland in duffel bags and trash bags. Okay, through the window of the airplane, so they could see this through the window of the airplane. So obviously this was just gonna not work out well. This seemed odd because the flight's paperwork did not mention any cargo being transported whatsoever. The court explained, and agents moved in, removed the bags from the plane. We CBD, the company that sent the material, filed suit in North Carolina against Planet 9 seeking compensation for lost cargo. Planet 9, a Van Nuys, California-based company, asked the court to dismiss the case, arguing that the Montreal Convention takes precedence. At convention, the appellate judge explained, essentially replaced the Warsaw Convention of 1929. It holds that air carriers flying international routes are liable for damage to cargo and baggage that is sustained during carriage in air. Claims must be made pursuant to the treaty. But the convention also gives air carriers an escape clause, the court noted. If the air company can show that the destruction or loss of, or damage to the cargo resulted from an act of a public authority carried out in connection with entry, exit, or transit of the cargo. The destroying of the hemp by custom agents is considered an act of public authority, the court said. We CBD, represented by, you're going to love this, attorney William Terpening. Terpening spelled Terpening. William Terpening. The guy's like got terpene in his last name. How cool is that? Of Charlotte had also argued that the convention did not apply because the paperwork was left out before the flight was underway and the destruction of the hemp came later, meaning that those actions fell outside the scope of carriage of air. But the appeals court said that the argument was splitting hairs. Court rulings have long eschewed segmenting the precise event as long as it was part of the shipping or transport process. So you could already see the way that this article is written is geared towards insurance people, right? It's written by insurance people, read by insurance people. You probably didn't think the High at 9 News was going to cover this story. To rule otherwise would greatly diminish the ambit of the Montreal Convention and would concomitantly encourage artful pleading by the plaintiffs seeking to opt out of the convention's liability scheme, a result that the Supreme Court has counseled us to avoid, Judge King wrote in the Fourth Circuit Court opinion. Further, the court said, even assuming Planet 9 had no obligations to submit to the U.S. Customs documentation and improperly did so, the cargo could have not been destroyed unless it was in international carriage by air. So they hadn't actually left United States airspace at this time. They were still in Charlotte, which is still in the United States. The types of issues raised by this case will likely continue for years years to come, thanks to the variation between federal, state, and international laws. Even when the hemp is found to be below in the United States 0.3% threshold, international shipments can indeed be tricky, Schultz said. Some insurance carriers will provide coverage that allows up to 0.04% THC, but most don't. So interesting. What the insurance industry is saying is that they will cover up to 0.04. Well, 0.04 is an order of magnitude lower than the 0.3 threshold. So I don't get that at all. And the European Union requires that a THC level is less than 0.02%, but other countries may be different. Switzerland, where the hemp in the We CBD case was headed, allows up to 1% THC for hemp to be considered legal, according to news reports and cannabis attorneys. This is where a good agent broker comes in, Schultz said. you'll need to be able to overlay the regulations, the insurance contracts, and what the heck your insurance is covering. Maybe everything is inside a box and not a duffel bag or not a trash bag. So I think there could have certainly been some easy to solve countermeasures here done by WeCBD. Sending weed over to Europe in trash and duffel bags is just a dumb idea. And I think that's sort of the theme of the article today. So that's what I have to say here from Puerto Rico. I'd be interested in what my other colleagues have to say about this article written in the Insurance Journal.
Man, I'm shaking my head. Like when I was in Germany, there was a lot of discussion around that think tank of how to properly transport things when we're talking about things like international commerce, right? And it seems like these guys kind of try to do it themselves a little bit. Like vet who's doing your transport. It's worth that. And old shipper rule is, I don't care what the court said. You take the risk, you take the loss. So I think that this is an ignorant situation, and they should be ashamed of themselves. And I don't feel badly for them. You lost it because you threw it in trash bag, duffel bag. Pardon me.
I feel like this story should have been entitled "Trapper's Delight."
Well, just to calibrate yourself, those who are familiar with hemp farming, when you see a super sack, they're called super sacks. They're just huge sacks of hemp. That's about 300 to 350 pounds, depending on.
They're heavy.
They're. So could you imagine 10 of super sacks in a plane with windows?
I just bought my
I can't,
super
Dr.
sack.
Mark, because we had a semi-trailer seized for a while. We had to go through a lot of stuff. Scared the driver. He quit. I don't think he drives anymore still. So yeah, it's unfortunate. You have to be really careful when you're transporting hemp because they will take your shit. They'll call it weed. They'll destroy it, and they'll put you in jail.
Dr. Mark, had this flight taken off, or this was all found while it was still on the ground in South Carolina?
So what happens the way I understand the article is that people were tipped off in Portland, Oregon, where the shipping originated, and then they contacted customs in Charlotte, where I guess the plane maybe stopped for refueling before it was going over to Switzerland, because that's a long way, right? You figure, they're going from one East Coast the West Coast to an East Coast. Charlotte is a huge airport. Those of you who've ever connected through Charlotte knows that American Airlines, it's a hub for American Airlines, and it's a pretty busy airport. So I think that, there's probably a sizable customs enforcement squad there in Charlotte, and they were tipped off by the people in Portland who saw them loading trash bags onto first they saw them taking seats off the plane, right? That's weird.
Awesome.
Why are you taking seats out of the plane?
That's not out of the norm.
And then they're putting big lawn bags full of weed.
Yeah.
American Airlines
This is a plane, not a Sprinter van. What are you guys doing?
I love this story. This story is classic right here.
We already know American Airlines is trash regardless. So
I think the underlying theme that maybe we should focus on is the fact that there's a patchwork of regulation from country to country, from state to state.
Yeah.
That really needs harmonization. So I guess Switzerland has always been a hotbed of cannabis research, a lot of cannabis breeding going on, a lot of hemp breeding, a lot of cannabis chemistry going on in Switzerland. So right away, they're like, hey, 1%'s fine, right? So 1%'s fine there, but 1% is not fine in the United States, right? I think in the latest farm bill, they're trying to move that limit from 0.3 up to 1%, but there's no harmonization between countries. So how can you possibly ensure a transport from one country to another when you're constantly flying through airspaces of different thresholds for THC? So this requires harmonization throughout the world. And I don't know. I just think that, the guys at WeCBD don't have a chance in recovering damages on this because
zero chance.
Right?
Absolutely zero chance of recovering anything on this, and they're probably going to get charged with something ultimately. So there may be a follow-up story to Dr. Mark on this with that.
This is like
and the other confounding problem is you could look at hemp and you could look at marijuana or weed, cannabis, the stuff that we like, and you can't really tell the difference. You need to do an HPLC analysis at a lab. So I could understand them like holding the plane, doing the test, and then coming back and say, hey, this hemp is hot, send this back to Oregon. But, I would think that the folks in Oregon who are trying to make money in the hemp business would have dumbed down that hemp down to 0.3 so it could at least make it out of the United States, for Christ's sakes.
The first time I ever heard of
this is like states' rights on steroids, right?
We got
the first flower coming out of Oregon that was too strong. That's crazy.
We got to keep this train rolling. We got to roll into Mathieu St Germain because he has a hard stop. Matthew, can you please go into your story, please?
I can speed read it, but I might have to jump for
that's fine.
Discussion, and I'm sorry about that.
No worries.
If you guys want to maybe I should drop my Venmo, and you guys can just start paying me, so I don't have to do work Zooms anymore. Because I'd far rather see and talk to all of y'all than sit on a Zoom and etc. So I've got a quick one about the Olympics. American sprinting sensation Sha'Carri Richardson stripped of the chance to vie for a medal at the Tokyo Olympics because of a positive marijuana test. Head of the U.S. anti-doping agency was among the many who sympathized with her plight. Years later, with the Paris Olympics set to get underway, there's little effort to show for people pushing for a change on this whole cannabis thing. All natural and synthetic cannabinoids, including the dreaded marijuana, remain prohibited by the World Anti-Doping Agency. Disappointing, Tiger, the head of U.S. Olympics, told Yahoo Sports, I think we should all just be open and up front about cannabis's lack of performance-enhancing benefits. Not in the recreational drug policing business. We're here to prevent fraud in sport and cheaters in sport. Fairness of WADA's marijuana rule inspired days of spirited debate 3 days ago in the wake of Richardson's suspension. Notable athletes, entertainers, and politicians called for a change even before Richardson went on Today's Show, explained she used cannabis a few days before the start of the U.S. Olympic trials. September 2021, WADA, the World Anti-Doping Agency, initiated a scientific review of cannabis at the request of the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency. And what they found was there were 3 criteria for the list of inclusion on a list of prohibited substances. The panel of scientists had mixed opinions regarding the first criteria, whether cannabis could be performance enhancing. They found no rigorously conducted studies on this particular benefit or not. There's consensus among experts on WADA's second and third criteria that cannabis used during competition poses a potential health risk to athletes and violates the spirit of the sport. An August 2023 paper describing the work, WADA's experts specifically noted that while the U.S. has relaxed restrictions on marijuana, its use violates a law in most countries around the world. I'm going to give you a quick summation of this whole story. First and foremost, this comes out of USA Today, and they're still using the word marijuana, a word invented for cannabis by William Randolph Hearst that actually was used to describe a Mexican native smoking tobacco, a word rooted in just racism. The article goes on to share about how Russian and other athletes have been caught with using actual performance-enhancing pharmaceutical drugs and been allowed to continue to compete, while Sha'Carri Richardson, an amazing and beautiful black woman, was found guilty of smoking cannabis not while competing and is still being banned. The whole story just, when you read between the lines, stinks of the continued prejudice and racism against our black and brown brothers and sisters, how that racism has been used to divide us, as well as keep us from cannabis and other psychedelics that are teaching plants, fungi, and spirit molecules that we all need to use for our benefit. I have to hit a work Zoom. I would like to turn it over to you guys after saying one more thing, which is Olympics is just, another version of kind of modern day slavery where they capture these athletes of all races and ethnicities, pay them nothing, and use their efforts to make billions of dollars for corporations and corrupt political officials around the world. It's just more bullshit. Let's all eat 5 grams of mushrooms together and come up with a new system for sharing resources of our world and realizing that no matter what our skin suits that we were born into this world look like, we are all brothers and sisters. We are all born on this earth. Really deeply love and appreciate all you guys. I'm very thankful for my ability to share the news here. I'm sure my commentary upsets some people, and I'm glad for that. Take it away, High at Night News Team. St. Germain out.
Yes.
So wait, let me get this straight. A man can box the shit out of a woman and win the fucking title in the women's competition.
No.
But Shakara can't
No,
smoke.
hold on. That is a smear campaign. That was 100%. Look on X right now. They are apologizing for all of that shit. That was a fake ass smear campain.
Let me go look. Okay, please correct me because that was like upsetting.
And the woman, the Italian woman who threw the fight, actually apologized. So let's not push that fucking shit.
Let's go look.
Exactly what you're talking about, the boxing match. Yeah, look at all the updates on that shit.
All right, I'm looking.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was a smear. Let's not push that shit. That's 100% transphobia. The way that it was coming out from the alt-right.
Well, if that's true, that's fucked up.
Yes, it's
if that's true, that's fucked up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
interesting.
Sorry, I had to put the kibosh on that one quick. Because I was siding with the Trump bros earlier on in the week, and then more details came out about that shit. Like, nah. Like,
Fair enough. Yeah, no, I feel we definitely want to keep things fair and balanced and accurate. And so it does make it easy for people to get caught up in their emotions when things do come out like that. And so we do want to try to make sure that we keep in a level head. And
it's a lot more complicated.
Well, let's report on the weed news because I'm just going to keep reading into this one because LA Times just came out with something.
Yeah, it was a lot more complicated than everybody was putting it out to be. It's not cut and dry with that one. And old girl was just a garbage ass boxer. Straight up.
But she made it to the Olympics? That's crazy.
Yeah. So but about this one,
I have so many things to say about that.
Yeah, different conversation, different day. Let's keep it weed today. We don't want to fall into that. That's a rabbit hole we don't want to grab onto a snake out of. So that being said,
I see what you did there, Rico.
That was cute, Rico.
All right, so the Paris Olympics Day. A big shout out to Sha'Carri Richardson. And she's doing the damn thing early right here. And I think it says a lot about not just the genesis of the perception of cannabis on a global stage. I think America is actually making a lot of statements here with Snoop Dogg out there representing and doing a damn great job commentating too.
He should have smoked.
If you guys have not watched, it's okay if you don't watch the Olympics or anything. Just go look at one of these supercuts of Snoop Dogg's commentation. Fantastic, better than any of that trash milquetoast garbage that they've been putting out for years. And I think this can weed bringing a lot more eyes to the Olympics than ever before. This is something that the world needs.
Are you saying?
Lo and behold, weed makes things more interesting.
Are you saying weed for the people now, Rico? Is that what I'm hearing?
For the people, globally right here. And what we can talk about, Jenny Beth, without delving into that the toxic issue right there is the fact that there are several athletes who tested positive for steroids and stimulants and were still allowed to perform. Yet Sha'Carri Richardson was not able to do that. But that's the kind of stuff that the Olympic organization, WADA, needs to clean up. And I'm all for just abolishing WADA whatsoever. Have some kind of uniform testing across the board. I understand that you need to do that on Olympic level, but there's some shit going on right now. If you guys have been watching the swimming, the Chinese athlete who won, he broke his own world record multiple times. He was in the freestyle competition, a full body's length in front of number 2. It's never, ever happened in the history of the sport. That's the kind of stuff they need to be looking into, not cannabis usage. Off my soapbox. Sorry.
Fair enough. Any of the doctors, any of you two have any comments on this? I mean, because I think this is very interesting that someone from the U.S. is coming out and saying that this is ridiculous.
The drug testing is ridiculous. It's great that they're doing it, and shout out to her for being that. She was put into that position for some reason, and she's taking it on and really bringing it forward. So that's very cool. In terms of the doping, it's such a complex problem. But I saw that race, and that sprint race where he was a body's length ahead of everyone was incredible. And when you saw him up against his competitors, he was small and the others were giants, but he was faster.
Interesting. All right, fair enough.
Yeah, the only thing that I would add, and maybe Dr. Talleyrand could expand on this, is that, performance enhancing drugs. Okay, there's performance enhancing diet, right? Yeah. So like if you're drinking probiotic, or if you're consuming anything that can enhance your performance, where do you draw the line between what's a nutraceutical, something that you're getting from food? So, if you're eating mangoes and you're eating lots of citrus, you're getting lots of vitamin C. That enhance one's performance. Why do they always
your performance, right?
Hold on.
Right.
Working out in a gym could be considered performance enhancing.
Yes.
Even practicing for your sport could be considered performance enhancing.
Drinking electrolytes like Gatorade, so I think, certainly like anabolic steroids, which kind of hijacks body's ability to produce muscle mass, is not right. That could just take somebody who maybe is built and build muscle mass on that, which can enhance performance. But isn't it true, Jean, that there's lots of things that could be performance enhancing? So what do? Do you limit what they eat? Do you limit natural foods? Do you limit nutraceuticals? Where does this end?
It doesn't end. It's a gray area. It's a gray area that will all need ongoing definition. Right now they seem to have drawn the line between something that helps build muscle mass, but there are things that cross that line, like HGH is really something that helps repair. It's not really a builder, it's a repair. So you can possibly throw cannabis in that category and make it illegal because it helps repair. But does ibuprofen help repair too? So there's all sorts of discussions along that definition of repair versus building muscle that's going to be argued over with scientists and regulators forever.
Dr. T, Ben LeBone, who watches every day with us, and shout out, appreciate your support, Ben, says sleeping is performance enhancing also.
Yeah, and reparative, probably reparative. So
exactly.
Is it the same as HGH?
Someone in chat just mentioned caffeine. Now, I think of caffeine typically, John, as a stimulant. But can you have 5 cups of high-grade Starbucks coffee and then run a quicker marathon because you've been stimulated?
That's oxymoron. That's oxymoron, right there, Dr. Mark. High-grade and Starbucks.
Yeah, believe it or not, I was a cross-country runner back in the day, and we would take no-dos. I don't know if you guys remember.
Yeah, I remember those. Yeah, no-dos. Yeah.
And we would crush them into applesauce, and that was a pre-race ritual to get us stimulated because the caffeine works better with glucose, with sugar. So you add sugar with the caffeine in order to get it to work better.
Was that in the 70s or the 60s that you were taking them no-dos, Dr. T?
That was in the 80s.
Oh, in the 80s. Okay.
In college in the 80s, yeah.
The disrespect, Jason Beck.
I was asking. They were popular in the 60s and 70s. That's why I asked.
No-dos?
They're still popular. They still exist.
Hey, Dr. T, can you still find Quaaludes?
Quaaludes is more 70s. What's that about Quaaludes?
Whatever happened to Quaaludes? They just run out.
We realized.
I think Bill Cosby probably took up the whole American stash, right?
Oh boy.
Well, we realized they were pretty dangerous, and so we banned them. And really the benzos took over for the Quaaludes market.
Interesting. All right, we're going to roll into our final commercial, and we're going to be right back.
I'm Jason Beck, and this is Smoky Vanilla. And if you want to feel as good as I look, then you need to get a stretch and smoke with Smoky Vanilla.
Hi, I'm Smoky Vanilla. I have my bachelor's degree in kinesiology, and I'm a sports massage therapist and stretch coach. I focus mostly on individuals that are in sport with chronic pain or injury. I love to intuitively create and customize a session based on the individual that I'm working with. We'll go over a few postural assessments, work together to create a wellness journey based on the health history, past injuries, or anything still affecting you today. And we'll get you back on your feet right away with less pain.
We're about to stretch, and then we're gonna smoke, because we're gonna get on our stretch and smoke. If you want to feel as good as I look, then you need to come on down and get a stretch and smoke with none other than Smoky Vanilla.
We're back.
Closing
We
us
will.
out today. Huh?
Don't listen. Go ahead, Rico.
Closing us out today is the melanated and opinionated conservative pro-cannabis voice that Candace Owens is very, very, very afraid of.
Oh, boy.
She's not hard to find because she is behind Kind Cannabis Consulting and Justice Serve 501c3. Y'all know who it is. Jenny Beth Dills.
It's me again. Hi guys, happy Friday. All right, so Minnesota, some exciting news coming out of there, other than the Juicy Lucy. So big job ahead for panel tasked with felony. It's a burger, Jason. We'll get to it. I'll explain it later. Big job ahead for panel tasked with felony marijuana expungements. Minnesota's now adult use recreational cannabis law, effective August 2023, mandates the expungement of many marijuana-related convictions. While tens of thousands of low-level cases have already been cleared, the task of addressing felony convictions is more complex. The Cannabis Expungement Board, led by Executive Director Jim Rauter, is charged with this challenging task. The Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, that's a name, has already sealed 58,000 mostly misdemeanor convictions. However, the board must now review and potentially expunge tens of thousands of felony cases. These felonies often involve prison sentences and can hinder employment and housing opportunities. Attorney Jim Rauter emphasized the law's retroactive application, allowing individuals to move forward without the burden of a conviction. Unlike other states where individuals must seek expungement, Minnesota's law requires state action. However, not all cases qualify, especially those involving bodily harm or weapons. Assistant AG Ayodele Famudu, I apologize, illustrated the complexity of determining eligibility using an example where a defendant's plea involved both marijuana and a gun charge. The board, including Chief State Appellate Judge Susan Segal, must navigate such intricacies. The criminal defense attorney, James Gimpler, praised the board's efforts, but suggested individuals might still need to file petitions for quicker results. Rauter plans to hire around 36 staff members to tackle the expungement process, potentially transforming the lives of many Minnesotans. So I love to see this. I'm, big on restorative justice, big on restoring people who were improperly sentenced to things. So I think that this is a big step, and I would love to see other states follow in suit. I do agree that people might want to go ahead and advocate for themselves, just like in medicine, just like in anything. You are your own best advocate, and relying on the government to move swiftly on your behalf is usually a bad idea. So I'm excited. I definitely am going to dive more into this issue and see if there's a way that we can help with Justice Served or something and push things a little further forward. So this is exciting. I definitely compel other people to put up and shut up in this regard, because felony convictions are also very important to address. It's easy to say, oh, you had a dime bag in 1988. Let's go ahead and seal that one up. But when we're addressing these more complex issues, I think it's going to be really important to get those right. So I'm excited to hear it and excited to see how this moves forward.
Yeah, I agree. This is
biggest Minnesota.
Yeah, this is a great way for us to for an ending story for Friday. This is fantastic, positive news that we don't typically often get in the cannabis space. So this is great, and I want to send a big shout out to everyone that worked on this in Minnesota. You all should be applauded for this work. This is fantastic.
Hope they get it right.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for covering that, Jenny Beth.
Time will tell.
Great show. Any other comments on that one? We good?
Any of the doctors? Any thoughts on this restorative justice over here going on?
Absolutely. They shouldn't be there in the first place, and so they're paying attention to this and definitely trying to improve what we've done in the past. 1,000%.
Yeah, it seems like they've taken a page out of the Maryland governor's playbook for this, and hopefully we see this start to trend in more states.
Yes, hopefully so.
He frog hopped Maryland. You know what I mean? He said, "Let's go ahead and start dealing with felonies." So I think that's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, shout out to everyone out there in Minnesota.
Gee golly, gosh darn!
They even had Jesse the Body Ventura in this whole signing thing and everything.
Unity.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
just like our show. And thank you all for joining us for yet another episode of High at 9 News. You can catch us live weekdays 9 a.m. Pacific. And high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to the Superfan Show and love getting their comments posted live on the big screen. Our live audience and online supporters catching us across all media platforms, tuning in each day to the headlines of chaos, also known as the development cannabis industry. To our vetted correspondent team tuning in from all over, bringing us much needed variety of perspective, your respective opinions to the table. Production team, Cloud Media Partners, all the sponsors keeping the lights on and AV struggles to a minimum. As always, Cannabis Steve L, the reason we show up to read these stories every single day. Thank you too, baby girl. It has been Friday, August 2nd, 2024. The show's over. You've all been blessed with the top industry headlines. Hope it was enough for you to put in your pipe and smoke at least until Monday. And today we're going to pop things out to Puerto Rico. Dr. Mark, you going to take us out? I'm Rico Lamitte.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Rico. You are the Rico in Puerto Rico.
Oh, boy.
So let's see. What could I say? Well, yesterday would have been Jerry Garcia's 82nd birthday. Jerry was a very important person in my life. I don't know if he was important in any of your lives, but why don't you spin a little bit of Jerry Garcia music today and light up a big fatty and realize that the Grateful Dead, part of the cultural phenomena that moved Kind Bud from California across the country. And we wouldn't know about Kind Bud out here if the Grateful Dead did not bring it. So here's to all those people who brought good weed on Grateful Dead tour. And when I was in high school, I told my friends, I want to smoke the weed that I smell at the Grateful Dead concert. Cheers, folks.
Cheers.